Hi, my name is Sam Fordyce, and today we're going to be talking about the visual systems of mantis shrimp. Mantis shrimp are most widely known for their boxing and punching abilities, but today we will not be talking about these critters' punching abilities. We're going to be talking about their visual abilities and their visual systems. First and foremost, mantis shrimp have compound eyes that are made of 10,000 plus individual ommatidia. These compound eyes have nearly 360-degree vision. They're highly sensitive to color and motion, but that sensitivity leads to a trade-off in accuracy. So they have a low resolution quality, meaning they can sense change very easily, but they do not have the clearest picture. Each of these ommatidia, as depicted on the right, operate individually with their own photoreceptors that are then output to the optic nerve. As you can see on the right as well, each lens has a corresponding cone, rhabdom, electrical pulse area, and they are all independent of one another. So let's talk about light perception. Mantis shrimp have the most photoreceptors out of any living animal. They have 16 types of photoreceptors, and some of these photoreceptors actually have the ability to perceive polarized light patterns. So as you can see on the top graph to our right, mantis shrimp have a much greater array of colors available to their perception because they have these photoreceptors. And the bottom illustrates their ability to perceive polarized light, which also means they can see the direction of light. So where light is coming from. Let's talk further about the photoreceptors. Mantis shrimp have tiered photoreceptors, which are different from our own. As you can see on the right, they're stacked in columns. Clusters of these photoreceptors are tuned to perceive specific wavelengths of light, including UV light and polarized light. And just like our own eyes, certain patches are correlated to certain colors. So I just want to demonstrate that to you here. These photoreceptors are stacked. So the yellow receptors would be stacked on top of the blue, and if there was a red and a green, they would also be stacked. So now we're going to talk about the mantis shrimp unique ability to perceive circular polarization patterns. So polarized light is not something that we have the ability to see. Some animals do. However, no animal besides the mantis shrimp, to our knowledge, has the ability to perceive circular polarization patterns. They do this through the use of stacked photoreceptors, as we talked before, that are specifically angled to receive circular polarization patterns and be able to understand them. So different areas are tuned to certain preferences on the wave, and they output a wave once the wave crosses all these stacked patterns. So stacked patterns, rather. As you can see on the right, this is a kind of terrible example of a circular polarization pattern, but it was the best I could do. And it's passing through that top box and passing through the stacked columns, which then give out different inputs and create the wave you see on the far right in the mantis shrimp's brain. But why does this matter? And how do they use it? So mantis shrimp communicate through the reflection of this circularly polarized light pattern. They have the ability to reflect circular polarized patterns on certain parts of their tissue. And researchers found that mantis shrimp choose their burrowing location based on the presence or absence of these circular polarization patterns. What this essentially goes to say is that mantis shrimp view circular polarization patterns or certain patterns as an indication that mantis shrimp are present. So when a mantis shrimp looks at a burrow and sees a circular or polarization pattern present, they can deduce that a shrimp is already living there. And these patterns are also important in the mating process for these shrimp. So polarization, specific organisms reflect light waves differently, just as a mantis shrimp can reflect a certain circular light pattern, different objects and people can reflect their own unique light pattern. Researchers believe that mantis shrimp can see these light waves in space, kind of like we can see a spotlight in the air. And I like to visualize this through the use of a video game. In a video game where you're, in an open world setting and picking up items, the items often have light strings attached to them to help players navigate these new equipments or whatever it may be. Mantis shrimp use this in the same sense to find food and find mates. So it makes it really easy to navigate life for them. Mantis shrimp also have independent eyes because they move so far. They obviously do not contrast off of each other. But mantis shrimp articulate their eyes independently. They also have the ability to rotate their eye in any direction, as seen in the bottom right chart. Mantis shrimp eyes constantly change orientation to intake the most visual data possible. And now we're going to see an example of that. Here's a mantis shrimp's eyes moving. And as we can see, it is moving them all around its body. It's not only using the arms to move the eyes positionally forward and back, it is changing the orientation of the eye itself and pitching and yawing. That's this. So now, we're going to talk about depth perception in mantis shrimp. In humans, we rely on a binocular depth perception system mainly, where we contrast the inputs from both eyes to create a depth output. Mantis shrimp, however, do not need to use both eyes. They just use the contrast from multiple ommatidia, which means that the eyes can be pointed in opposite directions. As we saw in the video before, they can do that very easily and they do it frequently. And that is because they are allowed to contrast within one eye instead of using two. And then spatial perception, I thought this was interesting, but because of the independent eye movements and the ability to rapidly change eye orientation, mantis shrimp perceive objects with more angles than the human eye. Mantis shrimp have 3D visual processing systems, meaning that they're able to see more angles on an object, and because of this, they're able to kind of design their 3D world better. So on the left, I have a singular dog, and that's what a human would see, only that front view. However, if you look to our right here, there are 4 dogs present, and all of that is trying to encapsulate the angles a mantis shrimp would see of the middle dog. It would not only see the straight on, it would also see from the side, on both sides, and from the top and bottom. So it gives them a little bit more information about a 3D space. And that is all about mantis shrimp. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you had a good time learning about them.